G'day, I'm Ash, and it is time to look at the preliminary patch notes and the dev server for patch 1.87, also known as Locked On. So, let's take a look. That and more to come. Now, before we go anywhere, everything you see on the dev server is subject to change and could be changed pending the new patch. We're going to be primarily focusing on Aviation in this episode, although there will be further videos down the line. Please stay tuned for that, as you would have seen in the teaser at the start of this video. Regardless, Aviation. First off, we've got the CL-13 Mark VI. It's a rank 6 battle rating 9.3 aircraft, and it can hold, well, modifications. Of course, we've got the AIM-9s underneath. So let's take a look at the modifications real quick. Of course, I mentioned it's got 6 machine guns. It's the 12.7s. They are the M3 Browning machine guns, but it's equipped with the AIM-9Bs. So, give or take, it's going to be one of those sabres with just air-to-air missiles, which is good. It can also hold 2 1,000-pound bombs and pylons underneath the wings, and also it can have 16 HVAR rockets. So, an impressive loadout. Basically, a standard sabre is about 114 kilometers an hour faster than its predecessor, so there should be some flight performance characteristics and changes. So again, the Luftwaffe, the remnants of the Luftwaffe, I guess, the West German Air Force, would look good in this, I guess. So the Germans get something rather unique, I'd say, for their rank 5 premium, right down this line. At 8.3 is the Hawker Seahawk Mark 100. The Germans operated these in limited numbers. Again, it was a prototype that the Brits really produced in lower numbers, but the Germans needed aircraft, so this is one of the ones that they actually operated, unlike the British, who sort of just test flew it. It's got modifications. It can get AIM-9Bs, and so that's quite welcome. Also RP3s times 16, as well as a whole host of other bomb loadouts and various other things. Even armor-piercing rockets and bombs as well. So it should be a good multi-role fighter. Now, as I said, rank 5, battle rating 8.3. It's got 20mm Mark 5 Hispanos, 4 of them with 600 rounds. And its top speed is roughly 1,000 kilometers an hour. So a subsonic aircraft, pretty good. However, let's see what the top speed is when we take off the load. It's 933 kilometers an hour. Okay, so you could push it if you have to, in terms of that. Armour, there is one plate on the front, 64 millimeters of bulletproof glass, and on the X-ray, everything is basically dead center. So if you shoot this aircraft dead center, it's basically going to combust, and that's pretty much it for the Hawker Seahawk. The last vehicle that Germany gets is the MiG-19S, and while it may be a speedy boy, it doesn't actually get any air-to-air missiles. Of course, on the armour here, it is a standard MiG-19. Bulletproof glass on the front, as well as some structural steel, and also behind the pilot. In terms of X-ray, there's 2 engines and fuel in the centre, and of course we've got the similar offensive armament with the gun clip across the whole entire frontal face of the wing. I forget the leading edge, that's the word. Modifications wise, this is a little bit different to the other MiG-19. In fact, of course, I mentioned it didn't have air-to-air missiles, but it gets a shit ton of ordnance. You got 100 kilo bombs. You can get 2 of them. You can get 2 250 kilogram bombs. You can get 16 I don't know, what would you call them, pod rockets, and you can also get 32 of them, and these things have 150 millimeters of penetration across the board, so it should be pretty damn good for, close air support. In terms of top speed, it is 1451 kilometers an hour at, roughly 10,000 meters, so, a nice addition to Germany. Now, the last vehicle that... I just tripped over my tongue. The last vehicle that Germany gets is the MiG-19S, and while it may be a speedy boy, it doesn't actually get any air-to-air missiles. Of course, on the armour here, it is a standard MiG-19. Bulletproof glass on the front, as well as some structural steel, and also behind the pilot. In terms of X-ray, there's 2 engines and fuel in the centre, and of course we've got the similar offensive armament with the gun clip across the whole entire frontal face of the wing. I forget, the leading edge, that's the word. Modifications wise, this is a little bit different to the other MiG-19. In fact, of course I mentioned it didn't have air-to-air missiles, but it gets a shit ton of ordnance. You got 100 kilo bombs. You can get 2 of them. You can get 2 250 kilogram bombs. You can get 16 I don't know, what would you call them, pod rockets, and you can also get 32 of them, and these things have 150 millimeters of penetration across the board, so it should be pretty damn good for, close air support. In terms of top speed, it is 1451 kilometers an hour at, roughly 10,000 meters, so, a nice addition to Germany. Moving on to Russia, and of course they don't get any aircraft, so let's move on to Great Britain. Of course, we're starting off with it's a rank 5 vehicle, and, they've moved the Hunter up to rank 6, it's now battle rating 9.0, it's a rank 6 vehicle. Now, the Javelin I don't quite have unlocked, but it has its own special features in a way, but the new aircraft this time is, again, the Seahawk. Here it is. It's basically the same as the German Seahawk, except for the fact that it has no air-to-air missiles. It's basically the same, except it's got armor-piercing rockets and so on and so forth. So it should be a pretty interesting aircraft, for Britain at least. Although, I do admit, it is a few years too late. It would have been good when the Sea Meteor was king of Hokkaido. Anyone who remembers that, that's basically it for Britain. This is the F-86 F-40, the Japanese Air Self-Defense Force fighter, I guess. This is a F-86, as per the title, and it's armed with 2 AIM-9B Sidewinders, similar to the CL-13 that we reviewed before. In fact, it's eerily similar. It even has the same armament with the M3 Browning 12.7s with 1800 rounds. What else does this thing get? Well, similar again. It also has bulletproof glass, 38mm, as well as some other structural steel, and some armor plates behind the pilot. Essentially, the X-ray of the vehicle is the same as any regular old F-86, but on modifications, there's not really a great deal. It gets the same HVAR-16s and the 2 1000s under pylons under the wings. But it is a 9.0 rank 5, and this is Japanese, this is your Japanese premium, which I think is rather neat. But the big ticket draw here for this patch is possibly the fastest. In fact, it is the fastest aircraft currently in War Thunder. This is the Mitsubishi. This is the Mitsubishi T2. It's a rank 6 battle rating 10.0 aircraft, and this is the fastest aircraft currently in War Thunder. And I say currently because there are rumours around suggesting there might be faster aircraft in the future. Regardless, this is armed with a 20mm cannon with 750 rounds, and it also has AIM-9Es, the Sidewinders. I never know why I get that word confused or mixed up, but it's got air-to-air missiles ×2. Now, its top speed is 1700 kilometers an hour. So it should be interesting to see how this aircraft performs, but on top of that, it also has a plethora of external modifications. You've got 500-pound bombs ×7, because why not? And the list just goes on and on and on. In fact, you've got, 750-pound bombs ×5. because why not? And the same goes for, you know, different other modifications. You can also use the regular AIM-9Bs if you wish, and you can combine this with a load of rockets and in rocket pod form. So there are plenty of options when it comes to this particular aircraft, and I want it so bad. Let's have a look at the armour. It only has one piece of armour. It's 38mm of bulletproof glass, and it separates the pilot from the, I guess, the second person. I believe it's the gunner or the navigator or whatever. But that's all good and well. But it's got really short, stubby wings and 2 engines. And then fuel tanks everywhere in the centre. So it's going to be interesting to see how this aircraft performs, considering it could very well be, I don't know, unstable at lower speeds in flight. But anyway, that is Japan. This is the G91R4. Now, Italy gets 3 new aircraft, one of which is the SM92, basically an ugly duckling. It's like an IL-2 that's just gone backwards in time, I guess. And it's got Luftwaffe camouflage, ironically. An interesting aircraft, we're going to have to wait and see. Anyway, moving on. Portugal actually makes an appearance in War Thunder now. This is a Portuguese aircraft. Well, it's technically the Italian's Rank 5 Premium. It's a battle rating 9.0, rank 5 G91. It's the R4 edition, so it's relatively okay. It's got a better engine overall, but it has a more close air support role in terms of modifications. Now, this is interesting because it also gets the regular, plethora of ordnance. You've got your 38 rockets, the FFAR rockets to be precise. Inside rocket pods, there's 2 of them. And then you can get the AA Nord 20s. And there are 2 of these. These are the air-to-ground missiles, I believe. I might be wrong on this, but they definitely look like they're aimed at some targets on the ground. But also, you can get 500-pound bombs, times 2. And you can also get the AIM-9B air-to-air missiles, and 4 of them. And I suppose this is where this aircraft will excel over other premiums. It's got 4 air-to-air missiles, Sidewinders. So this will be fantastic. Now, the last aircraft that Italy gets, this is the G91YS. I don't know why it's called the YS, but this is Italy's supersonic jet, I suppose. It's got 30mm Deva cannons times 2 with 250 rounds, and it's got AIM-9B Sidewinder air-to-air missiles as well. Seems like that's a common theme, considering the fact that, well, every nation, almost, I think, has a supersonic jet. Britain, hello. Modifications-wise, basically the same. Comes out with a load of ordnance. You can hold 1,000 times 4 pounders. You can get 500 pounders. You can get 4 500 pounders. You can get 2 1000s or 4 1000s. And you can get the AIM-9Bs. Essentially, it is a G91, except for the fact that this thing does 1,031 kilometers an hour. Again, this is Italy's supersonic jet, and it is sleek and slender and looks absolutely gorgeous. That's all that Italy has. Last nation, France. France gets 2 aircraft this patch. MD460, which is a rank 6 battle rating 9.0. It has a 30mm Deva cannons times 2 with 300 rounds, and they're just below the nose there. This is the Super Mystere, and it is a gorgeous looking aircraft. People have told me, oh, it doesn't look too bad, whatever. But just think, this is where aircraft development in France started turning into the Mirage, and I quite like the Mirage. So there's that. The cockpit there, and it's got a 40mm bulletproof glass. In the X-ray, all the fuel is basically in the wings and above behind the pilot there, as well as the fact that there's just a massive engine. So I reckon shooting anywhere in the wings is going to result in this thing catching fire. Regardless, modifications-wise, we have a load of modifications. I'm not going to bother reading them out, but the more important one is it can get AIM-9s, and there you go. It's got AIM-9s, and it looks absolutely fantastic. That's basically it. Regardless, the next aircraft, and the last aircraft, is the Israeli Defense Force Virtua 2A. And this camouflage is absolutely gorgeous. I mean, there are 2 camouflages for this aircraft. I'll show you the other one as well. It is the standard camouflage. It looks alright, but it's not as dashing, I guess. It's more desert themed, well, ironically, because they are Israel. But I think this aircraft will be really, really neat. I just love that camouflage with the red nose and everything. It's basically a Virtua, which can do 1,100 kilometers. So the engines are beefy and stronger. The big thing with the Virtua is the amount of modifications. Now, of course, it can have everything under the sun. Look how many modifications there are. So many bombs. You get 250 pounders times 10, 500 times 10, 750 times 10, 1,000 pounders times 6. You can get the T10 24 rockets. This thing is going to be an absolute insane ground pounder. Top of that, you can also get 4 air-to-air missiles, which are pretty good in its own right. Of course, you can get rockets and bombs, and the modification list for this vehicle is absolutely enormous. But I'm going to have to probably take another look at this aircraft and all of the other aircraft that you've seen here. If you like this video, please give me a thumbs up. I don't usually ask for that, but it is dev server content. Stay tuned, there will be more on the way. But until next time, thank you very much for watching. My name's Ash, I'll catch you in the next one.